Welcome to Pathworking the Tree of Life with the Alchemical Cabala. This week, we come to the Path of Cheth, the Chariot. This is the number 7 Chariot Key. It's a very important key in the tarot, as it is the summation of all the keys before it from 0 through 6. And it's the embodiment and expression of all of those powers of consciousness from and through the self. Immersion in this key helps us connect to the real self behind and prior to all the layers of our vehicles and the world. Jason Lauderhan, great teacher of tarot, would say about this key that if you're ever confused about who you are, spend some time with the Chariot Key and let it help you sort things out. I think that is wonderful advice. This key in the Western tradition connects us to the essence of the Bhagavad Gita in pictorial form. It assists us again in our prime directive, which is simply know the self. On the Western tree, this path connects the sphere of Bina, or understanding. On the simple tree, Bina is the divine mind. And it connects it to the sphere of activity, or volition, which is also the sphere of strength and power, here seen as Gevara. So we see the strength and power connected and activity of the divine mind. It's connected through the Chariot Key. On the path of return, meaning working from key 21 back to 0, the Fool, this is the first path on the path of return that connects us to what's called the supernals, the 3 Sephirot at the crown of the tree. Keter, the crown, Chokmah, wisdom, and Bina, understanding. These are the trinity of the supernals. Now, this is significant because our contact as incarnate beings with the supernal realms brings us closer and closer within to the crown or the divine self, Keter. In the Western tradition, the 7th key of tarot is sometimes called the key of mastery. It's said that when this path has been transversed within and fully integrated, one is said to be a master of the temple not made with hands. That's the teaching. It's our key for the week. Is that showing up well for everyone? On your end? Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so here is our key for and path for the week. And before we begin to share our insights and read this week's key, I'd like everyone, please get comfortable and centered. Breathe deeply, push your abdomen out, and really feel the core center of your being. Deep breaths, relaxed, and bring your visual awareness, focus exclusively on the key before you. Breathe this imagery in and out deeply. Let it wash through you. And allow your vision to go anywhere within the boundaries of this key, anywhere in the image or the images that you see, as long as they are within the key, the chariot. Keep breathing deeply, the imagery before you in and out. In and out. If your vision gravitates towards one particular space in the key, just make note of it. Keep breathing it in and out. Now, as you continue to stare with your physical sight and breathe deeply, the imagery of the chariot, I want you to now, with your eyes open simultaneously, in your knowing and imagination, reach up to the reality of the countless stars that are always above your head. Always there, day and night. They're streaming continuously. See as far as the imagination can perceive. In your knowing, make a connection in your imagination and your knowing to the highest place of light that you can conceive. Now, from this place, now a great blue light descends from the sea of stars above you. This blue light enters and fills all of your awareness and your vehicles completely. Relaxed, taking deep breaths, stay present as you now close your eyes and look within. You trust yourself to guide you in your inner vision. Feel yourself now very strong and relaxed within your core center. Realize you do not have to imagine this strength, this being. It's simply what is so. Your skillful use of imagination simply allows you to connect more deeply with the whole self. Relaxed and keeping your eyes closed, see within your knowing. As you look down and within, you raise both your arms up before your face. You see you are wearing long white gloves of light. As you gaze at your arms and hands, you look down deeper and see you are the charioteer. You find yourself standing up, straight within a perfect stone cube. You are rising from this perfect stone cube. You feel radiating power from your core, and you also feel power radiating and circling at your left and your right. You notice now what you feel are great wheels whirling orange and golden light, spiraling at your right and your left. Cycles within cycles of orange radiant light move rapidly around your left and your right, and you see these are the great wheels of your chariot. You rest your hands now on the front of your chariot and grasp a golden and silver scepter in your right hand. You hold this rod firmly and gently, and you realize its power is connected to and comes from the core center of your own being. Feel this center guiding you in your chariot. As you look around, you see you're in a very large and busy city with buildings that appear to be made of white stone. As you look around, you see this whole city is just filled with white stone buildings with red roofs. And these buildings stand as far as you can see, almost as high as you can see. You feel the activity in this city, and you sense it's filled with peoples from all backgrounds, from all walks of life. These people are all very busy. You look around you, you just see busyness, white buildings, red roofs. Now you look as high as you can look, and you look straight above you. As you do so, you notice you don't see any white buildings. They've all disappeared. All you see now is stars as far as you can see. A canopy of stars directly above your head, as deep as space itself. As you gaze in wonder, gaze deeply into the sea of stars, you notice that 3 stars begin to shine and move about. They're shining in the brilliant golden light, and they're moving in a different pattern. Getting your attention, you watch them in wonder as they come nearer and nearer to you. These stars come now and form a crown resting gently on your head. Feel their power. As you do so, you realize now, in this moment, you have been blessed by the all. This crown of stars brings you blessings of living light, of wisdom, and understanding. A knowing emerges within this crown from yourself that all is now as it should be. And the source of life itself, the exact same force and intelligence that is directing the stars above and below you, is directing and guiding you through the paths of this city and through your whole life. You look outwards and forwards now, and you see your chariot is being pulled by 2 large beasts. Looking closer, you see these creatures are both sphinx. The sphinx on your left appears white. The sphinx at your right appears black. They both shimmer with great power and strength. And they respond to your every subtle thought with perfect timing, perfect mirroring, and speed. As you move through the city for the first time, you see a different colored wall in the city. Right directly before you, you see a very high gray stone wall. It extends as far as you can see to your left and as far as you can see to your right. The momentum of your chariot is headed for a direct impact with the great wall before you. By your intuition, you look within to your core for assistance. With trust and expectation, you ask for help from self. And as you do, a pure light emerges from deep within your core. Feel its presence and power as it comes. The word is now spoken from this light. This living light resounds through you as the power of speech. And this living word issues a command through you. You watch in amazement as this word is spoken. Simultaneously, you see a clearing. An opening emerges in the stone wall before you, in the shape of a perfect oval. And through this oval, you see a new landscape through the wall. Swiftly and safely, you pass through this clearing in the great wall, undetected by any within the city that you are now leaving far behind. You take a deep breath. The air has now changed. It's so fresh and clean and crisp. You feel currents of air and hear what sounds like great rushing waters before you. You find yourself on the banks of a great river. Pristine, deep, dark, blue waters are flowing before you. The waters are flowing from your right to your left. You pause for a moment. Something's tempting you to look back, but your inner voice instructs you. Trust yourself. So you look within again and call to the core of yourself. As you do, your chariot begins to move towards the river, and in an instant, you choose complete trust in yourself. You set your gaze to the far shore of the river before you. You feel a cool breeze swirling all around you as you glide gently over the top of the deep, moving waters. As you transverse over this mighty river, you feel its depth and width, and you sense the great intelligence and power of the flowing river of life beneath you. You wonder at how your stone chariot glides so effortlessly over these waters. As you look ahead, you see now your two sphinx pulling your chariot high onto the banks of the other shore. And you find yourself now in a great field of emerald green. As far as you can see, you see beauty beyond words. And you feel relief and peace as your sphinx settle down to rest on the lush green grass. You and the beasts that have pulled you here are now at a place of rest. The great wheels of orange light come and rest a moment with you here. All becomes very quiet as you find yourself looking out from your royal chariot, surveying as far as you can see. The sky is perfect and flawless in every direction. From this perfect sky, a great light presence comes from above you. Just at your right, you feel, and now you look and see a glowing dove descending towards you in this great light. This dove is bringing you a chalice. This sacred cup is made of gold and amethyst, shining light within the light. As you look in this direction, an unspeakable presence of light fills you completely. You let all cares go to this presence. All desires, all longings dissolve in a peace that passes all understanding. And you rest in this perfect presence, this victorious light, as you receive your gifts from the great light above. Taking deep breaths and centering. Feel your body within your chair. Feel the breath coming in and out of your body. And feel your core. When you're ready, gently open your eyes. Please unmute yourselves one at a time and share whatever you will. You may share what occurs to you in this week's key, the Chariot, or anything that you wish to share from within. Like how the Chariot has what appears to be a black triangle just above the crown here. See the intimation of it. The head is up in Bina, and that seems to me to be the undergarments here as well.
Just gonna share real quick, actually, as pointed out. I was just thinking about the canopy above the charioteer, and again, just thinking about it in this three-dimensional form where the the canopy is drawn open, and if it's drawn closed, then it would be blocking the you won't be able to see the charioteer, and the charioteer won't be able to look out. So it's kind of like with this whole, it just has this feel of like the now he can see, now is revealed, like kind of just because especially the canopy being the stitching of the stars, stitching of the universe. It's like, okay, now you're seeing the, as you were sharing quite beautifully with regards to the scenery, now that you've crossed the river and now you're in the lush green and resting there and looking amongst the fields, and just imagining the chariots here looking on the horizon and looking around, left and right, and just kind of surveying on the land. It's like, well, in order to do that, you have to see everything. It's like, oh, but with the this canopy being drawn open, that's where it's all coming about. So yeah, just the whole thing of seeing and revealing and things like that. So
Yeah, it's a great pickup. Great observation. Easy. Thank you.
that's
Yeah, because it would veil the face, right? If
veil.
if it
Yes.
if it were not pulled back, right?
Yes. Great word.
Interesting. Yeah.
Is my voice coming through okay now?
Yes, it is, Richard.
Yeah, I had a couple ideas. So, like the idea about Cape is like a field or a fence or a hedge or a
Yeah.
wall of. So it's like talking about the well, and also the canopy. What's interesting in the BOTA version, the canopy is more square, but I like how it's rounded in this, more like it looks, like a circular. The sky is kind of circular looking.
Yeah.
And I like the spirit dove with the cup descending, but the whole idea of the a field, is like we have to the material reality is like a field or a fence, and we have to kind of go beyond that to experience the greater thing without the whole idea of the Hebrew letter Kate as being the field of experience and everything. So I think that's an interesting idea, and all the ideas of going past that hedge of protection to it can be like in the Paul Foster Case meditation. It's like it can be quite fearful to go past that hedge of protection.
Oh yeah.
But
right.
uh, but
it protects us, right? It's
it
like
protects us, right? But we have nothing to fear. We have nothing to fear once we get past. Anyway, that's just a couple thoughts I had on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, excellent. You bring up a really good point. In Kabbalah, this intelligence is sometimes called the field of sin and punishment. And in short, what it's really speaking to is that as eternal beings or infinite beings coming into a very finite expression, right, of existence, can feel like an error or a punishment of sorts, a suffering, right? Like the Buddhists say, the world is suffering, etc. That is the balance that we're striking, right? It's identifying with what the creation, but also with the eternal, that's our source. But the more we are identified with the creation itself, the more we tend to err by forgetting our whole selves. And it's the remembering of the real self within and behind all the forms that leads us to our liberation, our evolution, and our ability to master the planes that we find ourselves on.
I'll share some thoughts on that.
Hmm?
So this is the key for Cancer, right?
Yes, the zodiac sign Cancer, that is correct. The crab is the first water sign, I believe, in the procession of the zodiac, traditionally.
Okay, so with the Cancer sign, which looks like the 6 and the 9, and being a water sign, we think of like a whirlpool. You have the oppositional forces.
Yeah, like a vortex.
Yeah, exactly. So you have the two sphinxes there and the two wheels on the chariot as these oppositional forces, and the charioteer is in the middle of these oppositional forces. It seems recognizing the vehicle itself is also you know, one half of the picture. Like there's the black and the white, you know, left and right, but there's the above and below and within and without. And it seems like the garments that he's wearing are along the same lines as the vehicle. Like there's this outer layer that has its opposite as well. And okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so thanks for bringing this up. I don't want to go ahead and finish your thought, but let's afterwards talk about what he's wearing.
Yeah, so on his shoulders there's the two crescents, which being left and right, and there's those two pillars above the faces there. It seems like the key really communicates making these oppositional forces receptive to a greater will or a higher will.
Excellent. This is called the receptive will. So good pickup. Keep going.
So that seems to be in those stars on the crown. That seems to be the idea of the quintessence, is aligning these three stars with the one sort of, which is the top point of those stars, with the one will.
Yes.
So it's
right.
It's filtered down through from the 1 to the 3 to the 7 or something along those lines.
Okay.
I'm getting a little abstract here.
It's all right. It's all right.
But I'm really interested in the garments. I know you mentioned it, and we can go into that.
Yeah, sure.
I just wanted to say that previous to today, I had an interesting revelation, I guess you could say, that the garments that we wear are the lens that we look through in some way.
Oh, nice. Yes. Yep. From our flesh organs to our beliefs.
The experiences and everything that we wear.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And so what do you guys make of the like and dislike? These are what, thespian masks, right? Is that what they call them? Is there another name for that? On the shoulders here.
Yeah. Comedy, tragedy.
Yeah.
Happy, sad.
Yeah. Personas.
Thank you, Michael. That's right. And then the self is right there, completely. What's the word? Equanimity, is that the right word?
Yeah.
There's I don't know if you guys are familiar with I'm not an expert on it, but Stoicism.
Yes.
So the self basically it's not moved by the likes and dislikes of the personality. Right? This is a key, I think. You guys correct me if you think differently. But I think this is a big key of mastery.
Yeah.
Where we're not, pulled all over the place by what we like and what we don't like.
I'll just say real fast, and especially with regards to the two masks, the personas, the habitat. Looking at that, it makes me think of, and again, I'm thinking like Sedona method stuff, which is the fundamentals of attraction and aversion. Being pulled towards, being repelled away, and just kind of there's a whole thing behind that of just
exactly
the what pulls and pushes us is it's like in the reactive type of mind of just that sense of lack. And so it's like, oh, I'm lacking this, therefore I'm drawn in this way or that. So it's the approval, control, security, separation, oneness type of fundamentals. And so from there, it's like, what's the attraction towards, and then what's the aversion versus repulsion, so like that stuff.
So I'm glad you said that. Well, I'd like everyone's thoughts on what is it you think, like you made a good observation. What motivates most people, or a large number of us, is this sense of lack, or not being this enough or that enough, or having this enough. That's it's a very common experience of being human, right? And we're human, so we get what we get. But what would it be like if your life, if you find yourself at that point, at that state of recognition of feeling, one of the most classical ones is not good enough, right? Let me say this. Like Jesse was saying, how we view the world, the things we see through are what we accept as an identification of self. And each of us have those, right? For better, for worse. And the idea, I think, spiritually, I like to say the spiritual path in a nutshell is one of re-identification of self.
Changing your clothes.
Taking them off.
Or remembering you're not the clothes. But yeah, sure.
He's mastered himself. He's mastered himself. He's become one. He's become the one self. He's identified with the one self. There's only one will, and the one will works through him now. He's recognized that and identified with the one self, with the one will. And yeah.
Yes, exactly, Victoria. Thank you. That's very well said. Now, the beauty of this key is immersion in it brings forth the self. Not that it's not always here. It is. It's always here. But this is like a mirror for us of what it's like to be incarnated as a human being in the world. And it helps us remember, right? The self that is beyond the likes and the dislikes and the animal drives, right? And the physical forms we find ourselves in. He's wearing this. Go ahead.
You were talking about he is a representation of receptive will.
Yes.
And he's an expression of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of the fence is we need to learn to remember. And we've talked about creating patterns. I find the use of the fence very helpful because you work on one set of patterns at a time so that you can be at peace with these various patterns in your life. So the net effect is the balance that's expressed in this card. He's crowned with a green crown, he's crowned with love, which is the color expressed by green. That's love is expressed by the color green. And he's at peace. And yet he's in the midst of the world. So you can go about, he's the culmination of the prior 6 keys. So he's spent his time picking up his tools, being on the earth, and learning about them.
Mm-hmm.
We are not of the earth, we are on it. We are the self, the inner self. And the point of us, the receptive will, is to be receptive to the self. So to be objectively observant rather than tossed about by all our preconceptions that we've been taught. We have to just find out what works for us. Is this serving me? Is doing these strange things that I do throughout the day, is that serving me? Am I in a state of peace? Am I in the state that this figure expresses? So It allows you, so to me, the fence is allowing you to do a few things at a time instead of going crazy and trying to control everything or
That's
figure
a great,
everything out.
great point, Margot. Thank you. That's exactly what it's for, is to master this space in this area, right? And then when we do that, we can expand it.
Exactly.
And then, but we always keep some kind of fence or hedge, because if we didn't, we wouldn't be playing in creation, right? We would just be
this is creation. Where we're going isn't someplace else. We're going here. We're not creating a body for over there. We're creating a body for here.
It just seems like.
Yeah. You see without your eyes. You hear without your ears. You speak without your mouth. You come from the inner self.
I think the big shift is living in that, from that perspective, versus being reactionary in the world, right?
And he's living in the cube.
Yes, he's not reacting at all.
No, he's living it.
Yes.
Great peace and power. Because he's fully receptive to the self.
Yes.
And then expresses that. Your
That's
soul.
Really well said.
You, the soul, the personality, your mate is yourself. That's
really well said. Thank you.
Yes, it's a great symbol of mastery, like you said, because it shows the self in perfect equilibrium with everything. And a common axiom is equilibrium is the basis of the great work. And I think it is. And an important point is the breastplate is related to Cancer, as well as like Cancer is in charge of the breastbone and that area of the body. And Cancer is also like a protective thing, like armor, like and also the great expanse, or the absolute, has to be limited for us to experience it. So the fence is important. It has to be. So that's what I think.
It allows for discernment in your life, and not to have life overwhelm you. Just go, okay, I'm working on this area. I see you over there. Go away. I'm going to do this, and then I'll get to more. It makes it easier, and that's where your patterns come in. They give you the strength to expand.
Yes.
Thank you, Richard.
Margot, I was meditating on the fence aspect of this card, and the fence that leaped to mind with no effort at all is your fence in your backyard. And the thing that strikes me about that is, if you all probably haven't seen Margot's backyard, but it is exquisite. I mean, it's like a little Garden of Eden.
It is lovely.
Yes. And so the thing that strikes me most about your fence is that the stark difference between your side of the fence and the street side of the fence. They're like two different worlds. I mean, it's a nice neighborhood, don't get me wrong, but
it is.
You so thoroughly own your backyard and your whole place, really. But your backyard you own it. And that, to me, is what a fence is really about, because it defines a property line. It shows private property separated from public property. And the beauty of private property is the ability it gives you to bring the formative energies of the imagination into realization, because you control it and you own it. And I know you, Margot, if anybody tried to break into your backyard, I wouldn't want to be that person. So you quite thoroughly own your property. And so I'm thinking, you've heard people say, you got to own it, It's like, I want to start a business, or I've got this idea, and the mentor will say, you got to own it. Just own it, and then because as you take ownership of something, then it can start to really grow. Then it's under your control. Then you can work with the opposing forces and balance these things out and bring out the green, the growth, which is also of the imagination, right? I mean, imagination's all about growth. So anyway, I just had to share that, because your backyard is like the epitome of this idea of fence.
And it has a body of water that it goes off on.
Yes. Yes,
now we all want to see it, though.
Yes, it does.
Oh, it is beautiful.
I'm on a pond.
Oh.
One of the things that's, when you say own it, it brought to mind when we redid our house, and
Yes.
the guys who worked here owned it. It was so integral. It wasn't a crew that showed up and worked. I have photos of people like laughing and putting this thing together, and when things went, and they made comments about, oh, you could make this a little better. We had an architect, but we changed things based on their comments. It became this group ownership of it. And
he really took it, didn't he? He really took control of it, like the reins in this card. It's like it was his job, right? I mean, it's like shared ownership with you, but he's like your agent, and it's kind of like it's when a ship approaches San Francisco Bay, another boat goes out and puts a special pilot on board. Yes. There's a guy, and the guy, when he gets on board that ship, it's his ship.
That's right.
Right? He owns that ship until he gets off of it. It's that kind of feeling.
Yeah.
Very much about willpower and the control and determination in working with the energies.
Yeah. Well, I do keep a ring of fire around the house. I mean, consciously, I moved in and put the 4 pillars of fire. And that I've had people come in, and when they go into the chapel, and we'll be having a party outside, and then and they'll say, oh, I want to see your chapel, and they'll step in, and the silence is so overwhelming. They do something like, they say, wait a minute, and then they step out the door of the chapel into the hallway, and they go, I can hear everybody, but when I go into your chapel with the door open, even, I don't hear them. And I go, oh, welcome to my world.
The silence is deafening.
Yeah. Yeah. They're just like, how does that happen? I go, oh, I don't know. Let's go outside now.
Another interesting aspect of the symbolism, like him sitting between opposing forces and different, the opposites, is the 2 orange wheels are related to the key we were just the other day, the Wheel of Fortune. So it's like but they're at rest. So he's at rest between the 2 opposing forces, centrifugal and centripetal motion.
Yes. And that orange means they're solar.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. This power of the sun.
So notice we said that he's a summation and a combination of all the powers before him. And you see that in his clothing. Jesse, we've talked about this a little bit. So like the crescents from the high priestess, right? He's wearing memory, right? On memory at his left shoulder and right shoulder. And then we see the armor of the emperor, right? See the staff of the magician. We see all of the prior. We see the wreath of victory from the empress.
And yet the central self, him, he can take all those things off and exist without memory or knowledge.
Yep. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
In pure being.
Yes.
Just think what happens to you when your subconscious mind stares at this card. all the things it activates.
Yes. It activates all the things.
Yep, all the goodies. All the goodies we have available to us.
It does.
It absolutely does.
And you don't have to figure it out. It's like,
yep.
It's like it's starting to move, and we'll present you with things you need to fulfill what this card expresses.
That is exactly correct. Working with your core practice, and do not neglect it. If you've let yourself kind of slack on your core practice for these keys, get back in the chariot and do the core practice with this key this week, and pay attention to what Margot just said. Because if you do the core practice with this key, it will bring you won't have to figure it out. It will show you very clearly through an inner experience or an outer experience or both what you need to be addressing. Who can quote the number 7 truth about the self for the class, please? Anyone?
Living from that well, I'm supported moment by moment along. No, that's wrong. Sorry.
Living from that will, supported by its unfailing wisdom and understanding. Mine is the victorious life.
I was close, right?
You were very close.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. So yeah, that is the essence of this key. Now imagine living your whole life like that. What that might be like, right? That's the reality of the self.
It's like own your life, as Michael said.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. It takes courage to do that, right? That's our next key, right? The one we just left. It takes courage to live authentically from self.
The victorious life.
Yes, the victorious life. So many powerful symbols in this key.
I had a quick question.
Sure.
Yeah, with regards to the garments the charioteer is wearing, for the black space with the white dots, are we to interpret that as like just stars, just similar to the canopy right there, or is that some different type of?
Good question.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Yeah.
Yeah, right. I was like, sure. The follow-up questions there. Yeah, it's that's just the way I was interpreting it and taking it, was just that it's, it's like a continuation. Well, a continuation of the universe, but you could also looking at it from another way of saying, you are not only above the stars, but you're made of stars. You can kind of really go down
Very good.
that rabbit hole. So
no, perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Now the
Was
most
it we're all
simple,
stardust? Yeah.
The way to ground or to start exploring, besides just asking yourself, what is this, right? But the way the starting ground you can start with is you always ask, what color are you seeing and how does it relate to the Sephiroth? So what we see underneath, he's wearing understanding and the crown. Right? They're mixed. But I've always kind of seen it the way you're describing it also.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I will say I really do enjoy the, looking at these multiple ways. So like looking at it from the color standpoint, because, maybe about 20 minutes ago, just I was noticing in the background, again, this is kind of more of just a reaching just having fun with it. With regards to all the buildings and the structure and then the roofs that are there, it was making me think about how, with regards to what we're talking about here, white representing the crown, and then red, Norman, this is representing like action, movement, and things like that. And, looking at all of the buildings, one of the general things is that you're normally not looking at the roof of the building. Like you see the building, but you can kind of see the roofs, and especially if the building's big enough or tall enough, if you're in one of the smaller buildings, you're looking at a larger one, they're just there. But then there's that kind of like unspoken, we're looking at like it's all divine and there is activity going on, but you may not be able to see it, but it is there. And so just kind of, again, playing with that red and white, the background, like I said, not hanging my hat on that, but it was just more of a, just playing with the colors and all that. It's like,
well,
it's like the invisible action and hands that are there.
Exactly. Well, in simple terms, I see a lot of triangles, right? Which is the top of fire and activity and, desire. But I also see that the action is happening at the top of the buildings, right? The higher parts.
That's just like the Mars Force the Mars Force being raised up.
Exactly. Great point, Richard.
And red and white are the primary colors of alchemy. Red, white, and black, but generally red and white.
Yes, thank you. Like here, if you're not familiar, this is the lingam yoni of Hinduism, which is the primal yin and yang, or masculine, feminine, or assertive, receptive, these aspects. This is the essence of that on a white shield that's crowned by the sun with blue wings. It's really lovely. Such a powerful key.
Blue being attributed to mercy, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so like the wings of mercy.
I think a popular Old Testament connection to this symbol is the sun will rise with healing in its wings. Yes. So you see here a connection of from the lower centers of the animal drive here, right? Literally being raised to the heart center of the sun with healing. This is another expression of mastery of the Kundalini, like in the Strength Key. Mastering those animal drives that we all get when we get to be human.
Something you brought up earlier, we're leaving the mental plane and rising up on the simple tree to the divine mind.
Very
with
nice.
This card.
Yes, thank you. That's a
From
great point, Margot. The causal plane, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So please everyone get on board with what Margot just said, because this is really the crux of the goods, in my opinion, of this key. Will you say that one more time, please, Margot?
That means I have to remember what I said. Okay. We're going from the mental plane.
The higher mental plane.
The higher mental plane. This is the first stop up to the divine mind, and the triangle at the top. But this is the first step into that. Perfect. Into the divine mind.
Thank you. So does everyone get where she's saying this, right? Because we've all memorized our simple tree, right?
Right.
We've all done this, right? So what she's saying is right here. You are here. So we're leaving the higher mental plane, which is no small feat. Okay, it's not. And we're connecting for the first time to the divine mind and the causal plane, where everything that happens first. All of this is just the clothing of that into manifestation. This is why this is the key of mastery, because you're up here at the supernal level through this key in the divine mind, and you get to participate in the creation of what's occurring, what's coming. And how do we do that? Core practice, the Chariot. It teaches us how to do that.
That's definitely one of the main points that glad you pointed that out. Yeah, the whole that's this is the idea of the connection to the causal plane. You know.
Yes, perfect. Thank you, Margot. That is the crux of this key. Now, it's beautiful to just contemplate it, but to live it, that's where all the gold is, and the beauty and the power, which you connect with through the core practice. And when you have, not if, but when you do the core practice and connect to this intelligence within you, and it brings forth the inner experience or the outer experience, be sure and write it down. And again, we're not writing it down just to have a memory, which is fine, or to gauge where we are in our development, which is fine. We're not doing it for those reasons. We're doing it because it helps us ground the highest vibratory reality we're touching to this vibratory reality, to connect the two, just through your simple action, through your activity of putting ink or pencil to paper. It connects it all. Really important. Whether you ever read it again or not, just really important to write it down. I like to put dates on mine just because I find that interesting, but you do it however you want, but definitely write it down. Anyone else have anything to share on this before we move? Okay. Thank you all so very much for sharing your light and understanding. We are also very blessed. This week, as you do your core practice with the Chariot Key, I would like to challenge you to allow yourself to trust yourself more and be guided by yourself within, to trust in that guidance more. Allow yourself to trust more and more in the one life to guide and assist you. Remember to end your nightly core practice with visualization of the actual Hebrew letter at the bottom right corner, the letter Kath here. And you hold that in your image, in your physical vision, breathing it in and out, and then close your eyes and just allow the after image of the letter to float in your retinal field and visual awareness. You can also alternate each night with that letter with this form that I sent out in the email for everyone. This is the letter K, with the double tattva of water of water. Thank you all for your participation and presence. This concludes our outer class on the Path of Cheth, the Chariot. And the floor is now open for any questions or comments.